hopefully it did not take my mic. Usually I test this by being real close to my mic and then being real close to the camera. But I mean, I can't do that when we're actually live. So, yeah, we're good. Alright, cool. We are good to go. I actually forgot to open this. So let's fix that. Boom. There we go. I think I turned the chroma keyer off since last. I mean, to be fair, I did, you know, the recording and all that. So let's go to this. Hopefully everything's all good. Okay, hold on. Okay, we're here. Hello. Been a bit. Obviously, I technically should have gone back sooner with all this, but apologies. Busy as per usual. It's stuff I mentioned. Uh, and then also, I won't lie. I mentioned this in my talks about video about the like Tomodachi Life, the recent Tomodachi Life, and how like, oh, you know, that it's not gonna distract me from other stuff. I'm gonna be real. That game is so absurdly good. I can't wait to talk about it on what is essentially next year's video. I'm probably gonna also shorten those down. I want to try a new format that I think is gonna work for it, and will make those videos a lot more digestible. Cause you know, I'll be real, right? Let me pull it up again to remind myself. I realized after I had done it that that video was way too long. But it was like, you know, it was already rendered, so it was a little too late on that. It was, yeah, 7 hours and 18 minutes, but don't worry, 36 seconds, just under 40, right? That video was way too long. And I realized it when I rendered it. And the big part was Uma, I remember, because speaking of which, I am gonna do something before we start. I hope we don't mind. I just need to take 10 minutes to finish off something here. Because I was doing this while I was having a nice sandwich. I actually didn't fully finish the sandwich, but I'll either finish it after or I'll finish it while we're streaming. And that means I might sit down later. Still, regardless. Um, I think Uma took up a good amount of that video. Yeah, because so yeah, if we go off this, right? Let me I want to switch over, but I want to make sure it's okay. Not okay, but you know what I mean. Like, just make sure that should be fine. Um, will this show correctly? I wonder. It's been a bit. Let's see if it works. That's Uma. Hold on. Hold on. That we'll get to that. That is something I will get to in a moment. Um, yeah. So if you notice here, right, you can actually see it in everything. Like properly, and I'm not too worried about that. Um, So yeah, this came with the problem of for the most part it was okay. Like this is Deltarune. Deltarune lasted a while. I knew it would. Um and like all this sort of shit of just like yeah, the Grand Blue. Uh I forgot to change that. That says Steins Gate. That is not Steins Gate. What the fuck was this section? Oh, was this still Ace Attorney? It was. Yeah, sorry, my bad. Here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna go in there via my phone and fix that right now because I guess I forgot to change that from the last time. Um, so we will just make it so that that's not there anymore. How did I miss that? Wild. Because it's like it's relatively the same otherwise, or not the same, but like it's accurate. Uh, shit. Okay, I had no idea that was in there. Didn't know. I was tired when I did this. I fucking okay. So obvious thing to point out is we did the reaction. And that was on the reaction channel, right, to the opening of season 4. Um, and oh, you know, I forgot to talk about season 3. I forgot that I was gonna do a whole thing on that. Um, I definitely still will. Maybe I'll combine it with season 4. Uh, maybe I might just do it separately. I I forgot to do that while the iron was hot, but maybe I'll save that for later. Right, but I was saying, so what the fuck was I saying here? Right, yeah, the reaction. So I was pretty tired with this because I had been working on this for a while. So I think I was around when I did that reaction. I want to say I was around, honestly, somewhere here. Not even. I think I was actually in the later half of it. I think I might have been by Crossworlds and all that. Um, and it wasn't too bad so far. It was like, okay, there's a lot to do here. But it's not anything inherently like too big, right? Um, I guess I could technically unmute this because I also am gonna like do stuff with Uma and all that. So yeah, it's like I got to around here, and I'm like, this isn't too bad. You know what we can do here? Like this was pretty good, right? In terms of just like, okay, very simple, all that. I could probably get this done pretty quickly. Let's do the reaction to the ReZero panel. I'll record all that, edit it, send it out. Boom, there we go. And that'll be it. And I thought that that would be pretty simple to do. But I realized afterwards, I forgot to make a tweet about the stream. But you know what? Twitter gets upset about links all the time. So I don't know. But uh, I mean, I still could. Maybe I'll do it when we actually start. Uh, but yeah, so got to this point when we were watching the opening and all that. I get back to editing. I'm like, okay, this is no issue, right? And then we get to here, right? And like as soon as like I was really happy making this, right? I liked making this whole transition. It was awesome. I wish the fade in on that was a little bit better, but I loved doing this. I genuinely really loved making these silhouettes. I had to like go in on Clip Studio and kind of just color them into accurate colors and everything. And it felt really nice making them all like this. And then you get the music. And it scrolls down and everything. And I liked doing this transition as well. Let's do this properly. Yeah, that'll probably be good enough. Oh boy. Like, oh, that was good, right? I like doing that. Here's the thing. This next section of the video, in its entirety, the Uma section, is not only the longest section, it takes up 3 hours. It makes it longer than the Festa video was off that alone, right? Um, so that was already a pain. But on top of the fact that editing it, I thought when I got to here that I was nearly done because I was like, yeah, there's not that much footage left, right? There's not that much like left to work with. And then I got to this, and this was bad. I was up for a while because I was thinking I'm almost done, I'm almost done, I'm almost done. That day was horrid because I finished all that off. I got it up and I was like well, I realized when I rendered it, I'm like, because it was gonna take an hour. It was gonna take an extra hour to render it. I realized when that was happening, I'm like, dude, I should have cut down on this by a lot. So I think for next time, my whole thing is I'm gonna either keep sections to 10 minutes or 15 minutes. This is gonna be the gimmick. I'm actually gonna have like a whole gimmick with these videos from now on. And it is, I'm going to put a timer on my phone. And this is good for my own practice, right? Less rambling bullshit when it comes to this sort of stuff. Just full on, I have 10 or 15 minutes. I have to say what I have to say in that time. If I try to go longer, that's it, right? Anything I miss out on saying, oh well, right? I'll just say it at a later point or whatever it may be, right? A later point in time, all that. So, whatever. That is my solution to all that. And that was like, that was rough for that whole thing. So I do intend to change that. But all this originates, because I did not forget, all this originates with Tomodachi Life and the fact that I'm like, oh, it's not going to distract me on all that. It did. I won't lie. It did distract me. It's really fucking good, and I can't wait to talk about it with that next video. But it's like, yeah, no, I don't know what to say. The new Tomodachi Life is just absurdly good. I can't show too much with my stuff because of obvious potential spoiler reasons, but I've been having a lot of fun with it, and I am very excited to play more of it. And I haven't even fucked with most of the customization stuff yet. Like I still have to do all the custom clothes. I still have to do all the custom houses, make it accurate as possible. Even my island, I changed up how it looked massively, but I'm not fully satisfied with how it looks just yet, right? I kind of want to wait till I have the general layout down of like, here's all these gates, here's all this, whatever it may be, all the funds kind of put into that. And then it's like, okay, I have so many items, I can make the ideal place, right? So that's the goal right now. I'm going to try and take a lot of inspiration from what I've been seeing other people do with theirs, and I'll go from there. But yeah, that game's fantastic, but it has been distracting me and is partially what's delayed some of this because I'm not gonna lie. Hold on, let me take a drink. I don't have my proper water bottle this time because I was having that sandwich. So right, but I was saying, um, so what was I saying? I blanked out for a moment there while I was taking a drink. Uh, yeah, right. I was saying with the Tomodachi Life when it came out. Yeah, I had a rough couple of days with that as well. Um, not in the same sense, not in the sense of I was recording and or not record or editing rather, with the big, end of the year sort of video, and it ended up the way it did. But more so, just like I played it on the first day, and my sleep wasn't necessarily perfect, but it's like it was all right, right? It was decent enough that I'm like, okay, I'm good, right? I get it. Fairly late into the day, right? It's about like I think it was like 5 or 6, right? And I'm just like, so like same time as now. Um, but I get it fairly late into the day, and I'm like, okay, by merit of how Tomodachi Life works, with the 3DS game as well, I'm probably not going to be able to spend too much time with this, but that's okay, right? And I do play it for a while, right? Thankfully, Mii's don't go to bed as early as they did on the 3DS version, at least from what I've seen, and I've been playing it for a while now, right? But thankfully they don't do all that. But I'm playing it for a few hours. I'm like, I'm having fun with it. It's like cool. Uh, and then the streak started. This was like genuine a streak throughout the whole like next few days of I would pass out. I would get up to play it some more because I passed out for a while. And I'm like, okay, might as well. Uh, I'd work on stuff, go back to playing it some more, pass out, like constant back and forth. Should be noted, I saved every single time, right? I did manage to have saves in there. I think I stopped prior to passing out, but that's the thing is that I would stop prior to that, but then like maybe half an hour later I'd pass out, right? And it was a bad streak for quite a few days. Uh, and eventually it just stopped because I'm like, okay, hold on, let's just chill out, right? Let's just chill out, get a proper, full, tuck myself in sort of sleep tonight, right? And that's that. And that's what happened, right? Proper sleep, boom, fixed, awesome. But that was like rough for a few days, and it did cause some issues in there because it was like, well, this is hard to keep consistent now because I'm just passing out and then playing more. Um, so I spent an unhealthy amount of time with that game as a result, but it was just the way it worked out. I mean, we're still fine. We're still here. We're doing all this. It works out. It's just, yeah, that definitely could have been better. But I mean, game's great. Game's fantastic, right? I'm having a blast with it. It's just, hmm. And I am glad to see that a lot of my friends have been playing it. Some who would never be interested in Tomodachi Life are playing it because it's just awesome. It's a fucking fantastic game. This is exactly what everybody was hoping for, and I'm really glad to have it. Like I think like 5 or 6 different people in my friend group have it. It's real fun. Um, okay. So, like I mentioned before we begin, I'm gonna do my chores a little bit. And by chores, oh, that's my channel. You get to see my subs and everything. Hold on, 2 seconds. That really did just show all my subs and all that. Huh. I'm like just looking around like, hmm. Okay, what? I mean, I guess I could just do this, right? We'll open up the chapter. Do we have to open up? I should open up the word counter. Um, Again, we're not starting just yet. Wasn't there an easy way to... I swear there was an easy way to just grab all this. Yes, I think this does it. I'm not looking, I'm not looking. Wow. Wow. Whew. Yeah, I did. I know. Hold on, I need a tissue for a second. Just move them away. Hold on. Okay. Okay, okay. We're good. So, um, whew, okay. Wow. 7,000 words to start, huh? Well, I guess bordering on 8,000. Ooh. Whew. You really did write a lot of fucking words on these chapters. Okay. Before we begin, let me take 10 minutes to do my chores here. I have it open still. Let me take 10 minutes. It'll be fun because it's the cup. Let me quickly do my chores and we will finish up here. And then properly read the chapter. Uh yep, there it is. Okay, all good. Um we'll put the audio on. Fuck it. I'm thankful I don't have the music on because I was usually listening to music while I grinded. Um But while I'm doing this, let me talk about I guess the chapters and everything. So I have been looking forward to reading more. I think a big thing with this is the fact that I forgot to get a pop-out chat. That's okay. I'll do it after. Um, I think a big thing with this uh has been I don't know, I've been almost anxious, and this happens from time to time with live reading sessions, right? It's like, oh, I might slip up, I might, mess up my words again, I might say the wrong thing, I might, all this sort of shit might happen. And it's always that anxious feeling, but then it's also like how much work there is with it, right? And it's like there's a lot of chapters to go through, and there's a whole starting volume to Arc 10. It's a lot, right? It's a lot to do. Um, so I think I was definitely nervous about that in a sense. On top of the fact that, yeah, of course, I was working on other stuff as well. I mentioned this with some of the updates and everything, and it's like, yeah, this was naturally going to happen. Of like, I wanted to focus on everything else prior to that, and then go from there. Damn. Um, ooh, excuse me. But that was kind of the thing. Um, so as much as I was excited to get back to it, there was also that nervousness. Uh, and I'm glad to actually like be back proper and be able to do all this because I think I don't know. Otherwise, it's like I don't know when I would have gone back with it, and I think for a while there I wondered. I'm like maybe I should just uh read through like wow, that was bad. I know these aren't actually the best right now. I've been having some rough times grinding them out for the cup. Otherwise, it's been great, but I mean for the cup, this one in particular, oddly, not great. Right? I don't know. Long was perfect. This not so much. Um, that was it. I think I was also debating on just like maybe I should just read it on my own, right? That might be easier. And I mean, I didn't like that idea necessarily because it's like, well, no, we started this because it's fun to see my live reactions and it's fun to go through it all as a group. And even if I fuck up, you know, that's whatever. Cool. I don't remember if I have 2 losses already. Or not 2 losses, but 3. Yeah. So it's not gonna mean much. But yeah, so it was kind of this thing of just like uh I wasn't really sure about that idea because it's like no I want to be here for reading all this and it's probably better that way. Um okay, John D Buffer. Wow, that's a UG. My bad. My bad. Didn't mean to. Um, but yeah, I don't know. I think yeah, that froze it for a little bit. Um, I am glad to be back with all this. That was like actually kind of close. Um, I keep saying because I'm just trying to think of my words here while I'm going through this. Uh, there it is again. Yeah, do that. But yeah, I don't know. I am glad to be back. I'm glad to do more of this. I'm excited to read more. I am frightened by the word count, right? There's a lot to read, but you know, we're gonna go through it. That's fine. I don't mind, right? It does lead into what I mentioned on the reaction channel of very likely we are only going to do one chapter for a while. That is not me trying to just oof, that was a little bit rough. That is not me trying to just like skimp out on a lot of that. It's just I know ahead of time Tepe wrote some long ass chapters. Some of the announcements I saw in regards to that stuff was holy shit, he keeps going, right? In terms of just these massive chapters. And I've been in that like sort of position too. But it was like, woof, right? When you're doing this, when you're doing these live reading sessions, it's like you have to gauge what you need to do here. And it's like, well, uh tell you what, we're probably only gonna do one chapter each because otherwise, I didn't mean to take a photo. Why did I take a photo? Um, because otherwise, these streams are gonna last a while, and my throat is just gonna be destroyed. Like, 8,000 words, I need to remind people, 8,000 words borders on like 2 hours worth of reading time. So I'm gonna be here for a while. And it's something I knew ahead of time, is I was gonna be here for a while. So, to avoid some of that, or like to avoid some of that fatigue, we are just going to keep it simple. I think I lost 3 times there. I think I am not getting into Group A final round today, at least. I'll probably try and grind out some more later. Um, that's rough. Um, but yeah, yeah, no, actually that could have potentially if I did win that. Yeah, I don't know. We're gonna be here for this chapter. Obviously we'll try and do more as the days come, but it'll take a bit. It'll take a minute. And you know what? I do this all the time. I start drinking right after I start a sentence. Um, you know what? It's fine because I have the thumbnail I want to make, that custom thumbnail. And if I can make that and everything and we're all good, then awesome. Wish that was a little bit earlier. I mean, at least I'll get more carrots for it. Um, but yeah, I have that custom thumbnail I want to do and everything. So I don't entirely mind, but you know, it is this thing of it's going to take us a minute. Uh, and I am excited for Arc 10, just based on volume cover and all that I've seen. I haven't actually really seen that much. I've just seen people making a lot of art of Krush and Fierce and all that, and it's led me to believe, okay, there's probably something here, right? There's probably something going on here. Um, and I'm very excited to see what that's all about. All right, that was an okay performance today, but that's all right. I didn't expect to stay in Group A anyways. But we'll see. We'll see as the days come with this and everything. Okay, let's keep it here. I think yeah, I managed to hide all the titles without seeing anything, which I'm glad. I'm glad that's a feature now. It's a very helpful feature. Give me 1 second to just do something here. Uh, okay. All right. Cool. So we got that out of the way. Also, my carrot count is so low because Yaino kicked my ass. I intended to pull for her entirely, especially if you saw the Cinderella Grey section of the talks about video, you would know that yeah, that's a horse that's a big deal to me now. But yeah, no, that banner kicked my ass. But with that said, we are here, right? I am probably gonna grab a drink before we do all this, right? Because I'm running low already. Again, I was having this with a sandwich. Um, but yeah. Okay. So give me like 2 minutes tops to get a drink. I said tops, but there's a potential chance it's like I have a conversation, just a tiny one, in the middle of that. So who knows? But probably 2 minutes tops to just go get some water, come back, and we will start, and we will do our chapter for today. So be right back. Yeah, I don't know what else. Just be right back. This one. Okie dokie. We are good to go. Just switch on over to the reading. Okay. So finally, we get to do. I mean, not in its entirety, but we get to do the last volume here of Arc 9. I forgot to get my pop-out chat. Let me actually do that right now. I'm very excited for this. Been waiting a while. Definitely been waiting a while on this, but we are here. Oof. Let's go get that pop-out chat. I think I have to do it outside of this anyways, so that's fine. Okay. Put that there. Here, put it all the way down. Okay. There we go. What? Let me. Thank you. There we go. Perfect. Even if the spoiler titles were there, I could block it out with the chat. Oh boy. Oof. I'm thinking about the fact that it's like, man, there's a There's gonna be a lot to this. There is going to be, I want to do that at the very least. There's going to be a lot to go through here. It is almost frightening how much. Whew. I think we are sealed correctly this time. I'm thinking about that one time where I pulled up the drink and then it went down. I almost did it again. I almost fucking did it again. I almost fucking did it again. Holy shit. I was about to, like, what I wanted to do with this, right? While it's closed, check that it's not gonna leak or anything. And I was like, yeah, let me see that. And then I had it open, just like I did last time, where I was like, let me make sure it's not gonna leak. It's fucking hell. That's almost twice now. Okay, regardless of all that, as a reminder, right? This is something I actually wanted to bring up. As a reminder, this is our current ranking for the arcs, right? Now, it could stay up here, right? We just kind of have to see. But we'll probably see by the end of this volume. I'm gonna guess it would be. I can't imagine too much shit's going to be rough with it that it's not gonna end up here. Um, but we'll see as it goes on. Uh, for now though, whew, I am like nervous to get back into this. This is like, oh boy. Um, right, yeah. So last time, trying to remember everything. So last time we started with, as I'm seeing here with some of the text, started with Roswell and Ezo uh fighting Volcanica Owl. They won, very presumably, but some of that shit was started. Right, because there was the geyser, right? What had started with all that was the fucking geyser. Um, and that was a huge deal because it's like, well, the implication is that that is probably how someone gets back in. Yeah. Because what it was right. Because it was my mic probably didn't pick up most of that. Yeah, because it was volume one. This has like the guys are on there. I don't know if there we go. Yeah, that has like this sort of geyser on there, and that was a very important detail because volume. What the fuck volume was the most recent one? Let me look this up. Prior to Arc 10 and this. Uh, the most recent volume was 42. Yeah. So volume 42 had the geyser in the background, right? And that was a significant detail because it's like, well, if the geyser's in the background and we have the geyser here, the implication is that the geyser can either send you back or send you to this world, right? Because it's in volume one. Right. So that was the whole thing. Um, so that was an interesting detail, and I guess we're gonna find out more about that here. I'm very curious to see. I did get the general, I'm gonna say idea or potential idea for what the volume cover might be showing because I've seen the volume cover, but it didn't really fully spoil me. And I have some ideas, but nothing is concrete yet. Um, so for now, that's all good, but we'll see as it goes on, right? Uh, with that said, I will say actually in regards to spoilers, I honestly I'm kind of lucky that I have so much like Uma stuff and everything on my Twitter feed. I have avoided spoilers almost like perfectly. Again, the only things I've seen is the volume covers, mainly because of trailers and stuff like that, right? The trailers, the intro, all that sort of stuff. So as a result, I saw the volume covers. And just the fact that people were posting a lot of art of Krush and Fierce, which gave me the idea that that's probably happening with Arc 10, something in relation to them. Um, but that was it, really. I have pretty much learned nothing else for what's going on, and I am glad. And this has happened on occasion where I'm like not fully spoiled with what's going on. But I'm glad. It almost feels like we got better with that, and there's a lot more avoiding throwing spoilers around and everything. Especially because, I brought it up in the past of like that seemed like an issue that we were having a lot as of late, where people would just randomly spoil people on this stuff, and it's like, man, come on, right? But it seems like we've definitely gotten better with that overall. So I'm glad. I'm real glad. Okay, wow. So now that we fully recapped ourselves, all this. Oh boy, I'm like just taking a moment to just think about everything. It's like, whew. Yeah. All right. Um, what fights are left? So Roy was beaten, at least from what I remember. The implied sort of thing was Roy was beaten. Volcanica was beaten. So I guess it's just Al and uh Alan Ye, was it? I think it's those two. Saying Ye now sounds incorrect because I'm now thinking about Diano, right? And I'm like, well, Yae would be like kind of then what that is, but I don't know if that is the case. Um, but still, so I know it's those two are still around, and I think the other two are being. It's been a bit, right? I mean, obvious thing to point out. It's been a bit. There's been two volumes that dropped in the time that I had done reading sessions. Um, so yeah, I think that whole thing is what went down. Obviously, we'll see as it goes on. I mean, any of those fights could be invalidated if any of them get back up or something like that. But we'll see. Also, apologies. It's been long enough that I'm probably just not gonna do the voices, right? Any specific voices I have, I'm probably just not gonna end up doing, especially because I don't remember them. Um, so we're probably just gonna somewhat read it as is, but that's about it, right? It's fairly simple. Okay, let's do this. Oh wait, let me put my phone on silent, please. Thank you. There we go. All right, put that there. Maybe not have it, bask in the sun. Okay, here we fucking go. Whew. The hexacolor radiance that had pierced heaven and earth gradually unraveled and faded away. The sky that had faded to a dull gray slowly regained its natural color, and before long, as if having recalled why it was called blue, the azure sky began to clear. I'm partially paranoid if my mic audio is fine. I already checked it, but I'm a little worried. Let me try. Hold on. So if I go here, I mean that sounds loud. But if I go here, yeah, no, no, no. Apologies for me like just moving in close out of nowhere. I'm just trying to make sure it is the proper mic. Because I was like snapping here and I was snapping here, and the audio looked the exact same. I'm like, what the fuck? Even though I have noise suppression on, I was like, that's weird that it's the same. But no, we're fine. Okay. With such scenery before him, Roswell saw tears falling from the eyes of Ezo beside him. Whether they were of joy or vexation, it was clear that he had overcome, or he had been overcome with emotion. Right? Yeah, because they had their big move together, and it did cost them a lot, but ultimately it seems like they won. Although it had taken two people to perform, yeah, literally right here. Roswell and Ezo had nevertheless accomplished a great feat, engraved for the first time in the history of magic. The utmost extremity of magical control, allocated into groupings of four and two colors, perfect formulation of a technique that did not permit any gaps whatsoever, and the ultimate harmony that could not have been manifested were there to have been a lag of even an instant, that had surmounted the divine dragon's dragon halo. Roswell's diligent studies and Ezo's research, if either were to have been missing, this hyper magic would have never been realized. However, one day, Al I'll even manage to manifest this technique by myself. Even as though bombasted while shedding ceaseless tears, Roswell smiled at his demeanor. Neither was it out of exasperation, nor was it in sarcasm. Indeed, that was the very essence of a magician. Visualization was important in magic. If it could be visualized, then anything could be accomplished. That was magic. Isn't that right, teacher? As Roswell muttered those words, his body began to tip over and was about to collapse onto the ground. Ezzo immediately reached out to try and support him, but alas, given how immensely exhausted he was, he collapsed first. Oh yeah, and Klein as well had his big transformation where we learned he was Volcanica, right? Then, as the falling Roswell seemed like he was about to crush Ezzo under him, made it in time. Good news. At a precarious juncture, that calm voice and those strong arms successfully saved Roswell from falling down and Ezzo from being squashed. Glancing at Klein, I mean, I know he's small, but like, would that necessarily? I guess it could suffocate him. But I'm just thinking like, crushed is like a big thing here. Roswell's not that big, right? He's a generally lean kind of guy. I mean, I guess he's built, but like, generally lean kind of guy. Um, Glancing at Klein as he was supported by him, Roswell let out a breath. Having soared through the skies during the battle, it was the versatile steward who had gone so far as to shatter a star before returning to them. Right, yep. I'm remembering that as well. At some point, he had put his monocle back on and retracted his black horns. However, it appeared as though he had not managed to entirely restore his perfect, everyday appearance, and thus a rather unusual form with disheveled clothing. Even so, outside of your butler uniform, you are mostly unharmed. Dragonkin truly are overpowered. Master, if I may be so bold as to correct you, it is not because I am Dragonkin, but because I, as the Dragonkin of the Divine Dragon, am simply special. Assertion. Or assertion, sorry. So you really are quite proud after all. It was your, yeah, it was your receptacle's fault that we've ended up like this, To point at me when saying that, it is merely that I cannot stand up because of my back, no, because my entire body has gone limp. Having fallen face first, Ezra was unable to stand up, and yet did not admit defeat. As if to express sentiments of lament, Klein shrugged his shoulders at the demeanor, but truly it was a wonderful quality. You've changed. You used to be more of a transcendent, detached type. You know what I'm realizing? The last time we did a reading session, hold on. I'm realizing, just because of the general weather, when was the last fucking time we did a reading session? 6 months ago, that was October, yeah. It was still flipping back and forth between being hot and cold. I'm thinking about that fact. And then now we're like towards the end of April, where we're literally still in that moment, but on the opposite end. I was just thinking about that randomly. Of like October, occasionally reading chapters, it was just randomly hot. And now I'm thinking about it here where it's like it's decently cold out. And I'm like, it's fucking end of April, man. Um, where were we? In that case, I could say the exact same words to you. Return. Were you not the one who had supposed to be clever and underhanded, content to remain a mere mediocre magician? Confirmation. Let's go all the way down. Yeah. Klein narrowed his eyes across his monocle, having perfectly guessed Roswell's thinking. Certainly, he had intended on that. And yet, sorry, hold on. Ooh, excuse me. Roswell had not done so. Getting back up after having failed, he had enacted a recklessness he had never imagined he ever would. But that was, oh my lord, hold on. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry for this. No, I'm okay. Never mind. Thought it was about to happen again. Simply that I realized something. that all these days I hadn't been walking alone after all. Roswell's answer, Klein fell silent. For some reason, Ezo did too. Though perhaps that reason is a bit too obvious. While only natural for Klein, with whom he had acquainted a long time, when hypermagic had been invoked a moment ago, his consciousness had been on the verge of blending together with Ezo's. There, Roswell had failed to fully conceal his own sentiments and prayers after all. Speaking of that, I'm quite accustomed to the phenomena such as intermingling of the consciousness. But how did you manage to remain fine, Ezo-kun? Normally, you would end up going insane. Don't speak of such frightening matters so casually. Likely, it is a boon of the books of the dead. The books of the dead? The Pleiadius Watchtower? Indeed, while I was on standby at the Watchtower, I read over a dozen volumes of the Book of the Dead, or Books of the Dead. But in order to do so, I had to learn the necessary technique of closing off my heart. I see. This is a magician. Understanding. He somewhat felt like Klein had settled on a bit of a rude conclusion, but he would not touch upon it here. After all, Roswell did not think Ezo had done anything particularly strange. Regardless, that which they ought to prioritize right now. Master, you have certainly fulfilled the duty with which we have been entrusted. Completion. However, I'm aware. As Klein left his words half finished, Roswell silently breathed out and looked out into the distance, same direction as both Klein and the grounded Ezo. He cast his gaze beyond that horizon. During the battle against the Divine Dragon, the rocky wasteland that had been completely terraformed from before, further beyond even that, the final destination of the Aldebaran troop, the Grand Mogulad Geyser. Flashing through Roswell's mind as he muttered, was the final offensive of magic and dragon that had sundered heaven and earth. The Divine Dragon had sent the Dragonkin up to rise and intercept the star crashing down from the heavens. Placed on the scales were two options, that of eliminating the two magicians who were weaving hypermagic, and that of fulfilling its own role. It would assuredly win, for such arrogance did not even slightly exist within the Divine Dragon at that moment. Hence, the dragon followed the conviction of the personality dwelling within its dragon husk, and selected one of the two options. Through its unleashed breath, it fired an enormous opening in the land, far removed from the battlefield. It was unclear why the Aldebaran troop was headed towards that location, but there was no chance that the Divine Dragon's deed was unconnected to the troop's objective, and even knowing that it would be defeated if it did so, the Divine Dragon prioritized firing its breath at that opening. The meaning brought about by that action would surely be verified from this point forward. All that remained is whether or not those you have cultivated will be able to surpass the opponent, Subaru-kun. Oh boy. Oh. Okay. Here we go. It's time for the big moment. So that does obviously mean there's no getting back up or anything like that. But oh man. Ooh. That's it. It's crazy to think that there is like I mean again I saw the volume cover so I have a general idea for certain things. Um but it is crazy to think that it's like we essentially have one fight left in here and like ooh I have no idea what's gonna happen here to make this a whole I guess volume in a sense, right? It's gonna be interesting. It's gonna be very interesting. Okay, let's keep going. Whew. So irregular. Oh, sorry. Hold on. Fuck. That was a really bad deep breath. Hold on. One more time. Okay. Irregular. Rem recognized that this was the role expected of her and the duty she ought to fulfill. By utilizing the extraordinary authority turning back time, Al had surmounted every single obstacle that stood in his way. In order to stop him, what was necessary were irregulars. Oh my god, my nose is fucking itchy. Indeed, that helmet bastard's authority is a fearsome thing. Frankly, even in all my years, I've rarely come across such an utterly irrational power. But no matter how powerful the ability, the one who's got to wield it ain't nothing more than a human. My fucking nose, like literally the side of my nose here is just super itchy right now. Um, Hit that helmet bastard with countless things that he'd never expect, and keep on getting him to use his authority. The time he can turn back on only goes so far. Overwhelm him, overwhelm him, overwhelm him till you take him down. If you whittle away his remaining strength, even the helmet bastard will make an irreparable slip up. That'll be how you snatch victory against that helmet bastard. This is smart. I'm going to say this is old man Rom's strategy here, but this is a smart strategy because inherently, it, here's the thing with it, right? Hold on, let me take a drink. I know I just did it again, but that mentology is pretty good. Um, because like it's kind of this thing. Mental. Why the fuck did I say mental? A mentality. Oh wait, I don't know why I said mentology. I meant mentality. Um, fucking making up new shit. Well, I mean, well, I don't know. Never heard people use the word like that, but you know, maybe it could be. Maybe it is real. But mentality is what I meant. Sorry. It's a good mentality to have, cause like, yeah, inherently, anyone like Subaru or Al or whatever it may be will technically reach a breaking point, but we've also seen that both don't really have that in a sense. Like they do and they don't. We've seen that for Subaru, yes, but we've also seen in Arc 6 he died like 40 times in like one volume alone, right? And that's again, that's not accounting for anything else in there. Ooh, excuse me. But like that alone, right? And then we know Al's died like thousands of times because he had to figure out a way to get around Reinhardt, get around Ram and all them and whatever maybe well not Ram, but you know what I mean. Like getting around the fact that oh yeah, Ram had to go back. Uh or like getting around the people in the watchtower and all this sort of shit. Um so he's been doing this a whole lot. But I can see where it's coming from with the sense of like, if you know what he can do, you play around it, right? You put him in a position where it's like it's gonna be a little difficult to try and just reverse that shit, right? Get him into a spot where him forcing himself to die, right, isn't gonna really happen too much. And then it's like, well, if you force that, now he has to play around the fact that he lost time, right? More of that time is now stretched forward. So now it's like, okay, now that it's stretched forward, there's less that he can do in that moment. And because you're actively attacking him in the sense to stop that, it could work, right? I'm curious to see where it goes from here with that. Um, oh yeah, it literally mentions those were some of the words of advice from Ramji who had once nearly driven Al into a corner. He was pretty fucking close. In response to Ramji's suggestion, those who were well versed in tactics, Ram, Roswell, and Klein did not object. Therefore, Rem had full faith in that advice. What they needed to do was bombard Al with enough unexpected situations until he broke. If a contest of endurance was required, then Rem was not someone to be underestimated either. After all, after all, I've gone to watch that person up close. If one were to ask what Rem's best shot at season victory was, it would have been that. Perhaps it was fortunate that Rem. Oh my god, my fucking nose. Um, again, it's not like I'm like oh like I have a cold or some shit. It's like it's literally just itchy. I don't know why, but it's just fucking itchy right now. Um, Perhaps it was fortunate that Rem had been forgotten by everyone until very recently. During that interval bereft of memories, the interactions she had had with Al in the Empire could hardly be described as extensive. And if she was going to delve into her points of contact with him before that, in regards to the royal selection, it was even less so. Right, because it was only like essentially once or twice. Really honestly, like once. Um, that was precisely the reason why Rem's actions had the potential to betray his expectations. The potential. Uh, however, yeah, roaring, Rem swung her arm out with her full strength, and following closely behind, the unleashed iron ball ferociously streaked through the air. The spiked iron ball spun around as it aimed directly for its target, the red-haired shinobi, Ye Tenzin, with the stage set as the 5,000-meter tall Agzad Canyon. The battle raged on as they plummeted through the air, transitioning to the next phase with this. Hold on. Already have to take another drink. I'm always wondering if it's this, like brushing up against it, and that's what's causing some like itch. You get, a little tickle, and then my nose is like, oh, weird. Prodigious Shinobi as the opponent. Uh, a discus, I guess, a discus of ice had been created in the air, serving as a platform for their contest of strength. This was the result of Rem and Amelia working together to impose an irregular situation, but the very fact that they had been forced into such a scenario was frustrating. It was not just Al's group that encountered an irregular, they had as well. With a roar, a sharp, heavy strike cut through the wind. The menace of the spiked iron mass, no matter how sharp the opposing blade, was not something that could be repelled even by something like bundling fine threads together. It surged forth in one swift motion towards the irregular Ye, letting out a small noise as the approached or at the approaching threat. Ye abandoned any attempts at interception and evaded with a cartwheel, passing right by her as she rolled across the ice disk. The iron ball flew through the air in futility. Eya! A sharp, almost carefree shout met the iron ball with a resounding bang. It was a pleasant sound of Amelia standing on the other side of Ye, kicking the iron ball hurling towards her, her feet clad in boots of ice. I was gonna say, you kick that with your feet, you're getting a hole punctured in there. You might lose all your toes. Uh, and that's best case scenario. Amelia's long, slender leg swiveled, and the iron ball was forcibly bounced back, chasing after Ye's slender figure as she fled with a cartwheel. Just like that, the iron ball mercilessly sunk its fangs into Ye's side. Not gonna happen. Immediately after saying that, Ye pressed her hands against the ice disc while performing her cartwheel, and peeling up its surface. I'm realizing she was in the art above there, but not Al. That's. Using her steel threads to cover herself, it became a shield that intercepted the iron ball hurtling towards her body. Of course, it was too thin a shield to completely stop a single blow. It would crack in half in a second, snap after another quarter, and the spikes would pierce the other side after another eighth. And so, when exactly 1 second had passed, it would have fully broken through. But that single second was more than enough for the agile shinobi to make her next move. No way! And it was Amelia who let out a cry of surprise. However, Rem was of the same frame of mind. In their line of sight, after having evaded the pursuit with an impromptu ice shield, Ye set her barefoot on the fully extended chain of the Morning Star with a light leap, dashing across it in one fluid motion. Mila was stunned by the acrobatics and balance, while Rem was equally amazed by the footwork over the chains that conveyed no sense of weight whatsoever, and yet the surprises kept coming. Together, with swing of Ye's arm, blades of ice and stone rained down one after another from above, targeting the two of them. These are 20 seconds prior, Amelia and Al had forged these armaments of ice and stone in the air during their battle. Yep, I remember that. Leaving them suspended there. Ye had shot her steel threads up towards the heavens to bring them down, repurposing them as perilous or perilous rain. Sorry, perilous, perilous. Sorry. Back up. Because I didn't clean up properly. That's a good line. I like that. Uh, Failing to clean up properly goes for Alsan as well. That's a good follow-up. Let's just say that we both share the hardship of having masters who are bad at cleaning up after themselves. All right, this is good. I like this interaction between all of them. Reflection, follow-up, and provocation all piled up, leaving Rem and Amelia scrambling to deal with the falling daggers. Amelia fended them off with her twin ice blades, but Rem was in trouble. Her right hand was occupied by the Morning Star, which was currently being used as Ye's foothold, so she could not carelessly withdraw it. She had no choice but to defend with her unarmed left hand alone. Won't make it in time. It happened the moment she had resolved herself to tank the bombardment. Someone gave a push to Rem's shoulder, and that same someone was impaled through the chest by a falling stone sword. Rem's eyes widened at the sacrifice. Furthermore, her surprise deepened when she saw who had done it. The gallant figure pierced through the chest, yet still bravely giving Rem a thumbs up. Subaru-kun. Before Rem's eyes, I'm assuming an ice one? Yeah, okay. Uh, Before Rem's eyes, as she unwittingly let out a cry, was Natsuki Subaru, or rather, an ice puppet bearing his likeness, that had been pierced through the chest. The exquisitely crafted ice Natsuki Subaru shielded Rem, flashing a brave smile as if he were the real thing before collapsing. Ooh, eh? The fucking like home improvement sound. That just now, don't tell me that was Amelia Sama. Yes, that's right. Not only that, Subaru isn't alone either. Immediately after she responded to the frowning Ye, 6 figures leapt out from behind Amelia, my shadow friends. Uh, Each was an ice statue identical in appearance to the Natsuki Subaru who had just collapsed. Let's scroll down a little bit more. I'm going to take a quick drink. Hmm. Damn, I drank this much already. I mean, I guess we've been going at this for a bit now. I failed to consider we've actually gotten a decent bit into this chapter. Probably not enough to, really leave a mark, but uh, all of them so filled with all of them so filled with individuality that it seemed as if they each possessed their own will. Pulled a weapon from the ice disc where they had been lodged and leapt simultaneously towards Ye, who was running along the chain. If even one of those icy fingertips could reach her, it could serve as a stepping stone to corner the nimble Ye. Fortunately, fighting a large number of people is what I'm best at. In an instant, 20 steel threads leapt forward, binding the ice Natsuki Subarus. The threads tightened around their necks, torsos, arms, and legs, mercilessly tearing the 6 bodies apart. Subaru, Subaru-kun. The cries of Rem and Amelia overlapped as the ice Natsuki Subarus were reduced to pitiful wreckage. Beyond the scattered fragments of the shattered ice statues, Ye continued running along the chain, heading straight for Rem below. In a split-second decision, Rem released the Morning Star's handle, robbing Ye of support from her foothold. As the shinobi would surely flail about in the air, Rem twisted her body and attempted to deliver a powerful back kick. As expected, I'd rather not get hit directly by an Oni's kick. As Ye spoke, she released the tension in her knees to compensate for the bend in the chain, a movement that Rem glimpsed in the corner of her eye. Ye dropped her hips down low, maintaining perfect balance midair as the lethal thread released from her fingertips looped around Rem's neck. Her head would be sent flying off, or she would be strangled to death. Just before that could happen, under Ye's feet, the chain snapped taut, defying her expectations. What? Ye's eyes opened wide, and she instinctively flicked the chain with her toes and leaped away. Nothing less could be expected from her. Her gaze caught sight of what had pulled the Morning Star's chain in Rem's stead. Uh, having the Having been the first one to fall after being pierced through the chest with a sword, it was an Ice Natsuki Subaru. The Ice Natsuki Subaru that had never given up on the fight, even after collapsing, had saved Rem. Truly, this person was always doing reckless things for the sake of someone else. It's not even the real thing, you know. Even if it's not, as Ye curled her lips, Rem's full force back kick drove straight into the center of her chest. Ooh, that's rough for Ye. I mean, she brought up an Oni's kick, but we've seen what they can physically do, right? A back kick as well. A back kick. Into the chest. Brother man, if you aren't careful, your rib cage is going out your ass. Ooh. Irregular. Ye recognized that obstructing this was the role expected of her and the duty she ought to fulfill. Within Ye, the assessment of Al as a dreadful, capricious monster could not or would not be overturned, but there were irregulars piling up that would serve to exhaust and burden him. That's the thing, yeah? Even I've ended up on the verge of death many times, quarreling with those above myself. You see, I'm sick and tired of the fact that this world's full of nothing but monsters. But I'm the one who's still kicking when all's said and done, so it means there ain't nobody who can't be killed. When both sides are performing their best, there ends up being a gap that should can't do nothing about. And so, in order to bridge that gap bit by bit, we've got we've got our underhanded techniques entirely refined to perfection. If you can rob your opponent of their ability to perform flawlessly, the opportunity to chop off the heads of those above you will come around. That's the blood-reeking secret to our success in life. That was the advice of the vicious old man, the village chief who had instilled Ye with the way of life and techniques of the shinobi. In regards to those ideas of the village chief, Ye had no objections. But she had surprisingly few opportunities to test them. After all, most of Ye's opponents were weaker than her. She would not lose to them, let alone ever engage them in a head-on fight. I can't imagine Ye losing. Cut to like every time that she has. Uh, the first defeat she had ever suffered was against Al, and it fundamentally distorted Ye's way of being. Even now, merely being near him would cause her entire body to be filled with dread. She wished for him to disappear even a second quicker. For that purpose, there was no other option but to have Al accomplish that which he desired, that which he wished for. That was why I don't want to let anyone who can corner that person get near him. Distorted, twisted, full of contradictions, Ye was well aware that those things applied to her. Let's go down. But there was no helping it. Ye liked spicy things and did not really care for the sweet things. But those were the dispositions she was born with, and a predetermination that she could not alter herself. Because she had been born. Hold on, I'm just seeing it's getting darker in the room, so I'm trying to make sure the window's not messing with this at all. Because she had been born into such a self, she would continue to live while staying true to that self. Ye had her own ideal way to end her relationship with Al. Ooh, excuse me. Uh, in order to accomplish that, Ye's contradictory way of doing things was the ultimate, or what was ultimate, was to eliminate. Ooh, sorry, it was about to happen again. Once again, to eliminate the irregulars. However, Hook, receiving a direct kick from the horned girl named Rem, Ye stifled the cries from deep within her creaking body. Maneuvering her body to disperse the impact through her arms and legs, the shinobi's technique that transmitted one's will down even to their muscles and internal organs allowed for a means of survival. But even when that was applied, it did not equate to a complete negation of damage. The tips of her hands and feet went numb. It was not as though she had underestimated the power of the Oni. However, for Ye, who could discern the capabilities of an opponent by observing their posture and the way they utilized their arms and legs, the Oni clan's trait of dramatically increasing their physical abilities by absorbing the surrounding mana with their horn far surpassed her expectations. In addition, Amelia Summons ad-libs really are quite troublesome, aren't they? Bearing those bitter sentiments, Ye muttered with an expression still harboring some leeway. In truth, they had been quite effective, but she could not afford to relay that. Shinobi would never relinquish information to their opponents. If they did, it would have been fabricated information for the purpose of manipulation. See, with that level of kickback, not only Rem, but even Amelia would have been able to see that Ye had been dealt a considerable amount of damage. If Ye were to still act calm in spite of that, it would be in human nature to hesitate in pursuit. Amelia-sama, yes, we continue. However, that was only if the opponent was proficiently adept in the ways of combat. Yes, I was gonna say they are not backing down here, right? Not to say oh they're stupid, but it's like these two do not back down in a fight. These two just charge in. So this whole thing of Ye trying to keep her composure and be like, yeah, I'm fine. They're like, cool, let's keep going. I actually cracked them there, so let me just even it out. But yeah, it's like there's no shot they're gonna back down if you're gonna act like that, right? Oh, okay. Uh, After delivering a blow, I said that really weird. Let me try again. After delivering a blow, the duo paid no mind to Ye's composed expression and instead pursued hot on her tail after she was blasted away. She would not call it thoughtless. It was desperate and it was fervent. At present, that was the most troublesome thing. In that case, I'll answer with my own nasty hand and footwork. Counter. Ye greatly spread out her toes on both her right and left sides, and together with her hands she controlled 20 steel threads. The numerous swords that had pierced the glacial discus that was serving as the platform, snarling those constructs of ice and stone with her threads and flinging them up, she directly intercepted Amelia and Rem, poised for pursuit as they were. Guided by the deftness of her digits, the daggers sliced through the wind as they whirled around. Combining the invisible, soundless steel threads to form a twofold assault of heavy and light, rampaging atop the ice as a rending gale that would confound any attempts to respond. If one were to trace the path of the daggers with their eyes, the steel threads would entangle their limbs and rob them of their combat potential. Al ordered her to abide by the no killing rule, but even if she had to sever a finger or two, or even all four limbs, those requirements could be met so long as they retained their lives. With those thoughts in mind, Ye surged with a severing intent. However, ya, te, ta. The defense of the Howling Rem and fierce Amelia repelled Ye's assault entirely. A display of teamwork with Rem handling the daggers and Amelia countering the steel threads. Rem coiled the chain of her favored iron ball around her arm and wielded it as an impromptu gauntlet. That sounds awesome. I want to see. It's going to be a while till that gets animated, but I want to see that. While Amelia transformed her twin swords, either or, into a gigantic halberd, the the pair perfectly defended against Ye's attack with a certain coordination despite not having exchanged any words. How? Their abilities were, ironically, she did this pretty well with Priscilla. She teamed up pretty fucking well with Priscilla. Their abilities were certainly enough to handle the invisible daggers, but there needed to be an explanation to how they managed to defend against the invisible steel threads. Questioning that reason, Ye caught sight of a faint white cloud of air as she muttered, and noticed a coldness biting at her skin to an extent greater than that of being atop a great mass of ice while plummeting from an immensely high altitude. Her ice fog. Minuscule ice particles fluttered down through her vision, twinkling to highlight the contours of the steel threads. Very smart. At the tech, at the technique Amelia had employed to detect the invisible steel threads, and a sense needed to come up with it, Ye was struck with wonder. Then, even more so by the possibility of things taking an even worse turn, icicle line. That instant, in accordance with the formulated incantation, the atmosphere began to let out a shrill shriek or screech. I, uh, I was a little bit confused. I was like, why did I say it like that? Technically same thing still, but the particles of ice that had made up the ice fog linked together with the particles adjacent to them, and the chill that painted the world white bared its fangs with an even greater ferocity. The first to fall prey to it would be the steel threads that were lacking in mass. The advantage granted by the steel thread's greatest characteristics, weightlessness and thinness, would be crushed in a freezing world. Even if the steel threads could slice through the winds, they could not slice through a blizzard. Hence, her decision followed immediately afterward. Ye brought the rings on her fingers to her lips, and at that instant, flames dashed across the steel threads, birthing an infernal explosion atop the ice. Last time you did this, the guy cut through it. Last time, Ye, listen, Ye, I'm not trying to say anything, but I'm just saying, last time you did this, the guy cut through it. And I know that guy was irregular too, but that should speak even more so for this. A heat wave that jostled back even the icy gale, in exchange for relinquishing the steel threads of strength of being unseen, clad them in the power to not succumb to the cold even amidst the icy fog. Please accompany me in this flaming dance. Letting her steel threads dressed in flame wreak havoc, the crimson Sakura began to perform a dance whilst unleashing her. Hold on. I'm taking a moment. Ah, would it be scintillating? I'm assuming scintillating because, like, yeah, scintillating red attack. It just threw me off for a second. Uh, in contrast to that brilliant, fiery dance illuminating the canyon, the two who were bringing about the frigid ice and snow, no, counting the seven ice sculpted bodies, 9 silhouettes leaped forth. Invitation accepted. Sorry if I step on your feet. Good follow-ups, good follow-up, good answer. Uh, on the ice and armed with twin blades of frost, Amelia slid into Ye's range as the latter manifested a maelstrom of infernal flame. She skated across the ice discus with boots of ice affixed with blades, and tracing a circular orbit, she moved in rhythm with the waltz of flames, commencing a gently curved, yet sharp and relentless onslaught. Comparing favorably to the extreme tempo of Amelia's offense, Rem's decision to plunge forth whilst engaged in a scrum formation with the ice sculptures was more directly stunning to witness. My voice is already getting fucked up. Ah, ha! Roaring out like a beast, Rem launched her bare white fists forward rather, in a pummel. Worthy of being described as a bombardment, what rained down seemed as though a storm of numerous fists, twisting, crouching, bending back, sidestepping, and leaping over repeatedly. Ye avoided it as if merely flitting. Sorry, as if merely flitting through the movements of her dance. Well, yeah, okay. I was just wondering if, like, hmm. uh, if you're only using your bare fists, you'll spend the eternity trying to catch up to me. I almost thought I, like, stabbed myself with my nail for a second there. I was just looking. Uh, let me read through that again because I felt like that was a little bit low. If you're only using your bare fists, you'll spend the eternity trying to catch up to me. I'm also probably gonna take a drink here in a second. How much do not to like necessarily like, oh, we're on a timer. I'm just curious on how much. I guess we'll take this Sure. I want this one. Hold on, don't look. Wait, replace. I'm just curious. Okay, we don't have that much left at all. Cool. We are already pretty far. Damn. It is getting very dark in here though. I am noticing that. I should have looked sooner. So here's what we're gonna do. I'm gonna close all this up. Hold on. We do it from here. Oh, I'm so close. It's gonna be really dark for a second. Don't mind that. 1 second. I wonder if I can be seen back here. Can I? I don't know. Just close this. Getting real dark. Ah. I don't know if you guys know this. I forgot my light isn't turned on. Hold on. But I'm actually right here. I was supposed to be in front of all of you, but I'm actually right here. Did I send myself? No, I mean, doesn't look like I did. I was just, again, I was concerned with how it felt. Uh, should I grab one of, maybe I should grab one of the lights. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what the best option here is. Because I could. I technically speaking could. I keep looking at this because I'm like paranoid that I was like, did I? I don't know. Uh, for now, I think this is fine. It's probably all right. I mean, there is a solution. Hold on. There is a very silly solution. No, 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 wait. Hold on. Let me do a new tab to see all my like fucking bookmark stuff there. What if I do? This is unironically a solution I've done with some videos. So see, now you can see me. But if I like, where's a good place I could keep this? Right? So we do this. No, this might not work because I have the pop-out chat. It's probably just gonna end up being like this. You know what I could turn it to light mode. Here's what I'm gonna do. I'm actually no, I want for once I want to copy what's there. Um, you know what we could do? Let's put it on light mode. I know it's blinding. I know. Um, and then we do this. Boom. That's how we get back. That's how we get back. Perfect. That's how we get back. Okay. Good. And I think now it is bright enough that we are okay. Right? Boom. I sometimes forget that there's the whole background in there, like behind all this. It's honestly easier to see like this. Uh, honestly, hold on. Give me like 1 second just to like clip something here. I'm unsure how this is gonna look when I do this, but actually I do also want to sit. So I'm gonna bring my desk down just for a moment, right? And now, with the desk back down, turn that off. Okay. I'm actually, yeah, let me tilt the camera down a bit. Okay, that should be good. Probably. Let's see. We're good. We're good. Alright. Just making sure. Okay, yeah, let's keep going. Maybe let me also tilt the mic down a little bit. Maybe not. It might be fine here. Probably. Probably. I don't know. It looks a little bit loud, so here. That'll be good. Even with the physical abilities of an Oni, there were four limbs extending out of a torso. The flow of strength through the muscles was plain to see, and Ye's eyes would not fail to glimpse it. Rem's Oni strength was astounding, but it did not outpace Ye's reaction speed like the sword demon had. True. With that logic, the irregulars that were actually betraying Ye's imagination were rather the seven ice sculptures of humanoid shape, reining things in with inscrutable. Let me take a drink. I actually could feel that one in my throat. I should have when I came back, but egg on my face. Reining things in with inscrutable movements during the intervals between Amelia and Rem's attacks. At this rate, just as she had declared, Ye would end up spending an eternity engaging these two in combat. No. When Ye was on the verge of opting for the easy option, she put the brakes on herself. The battlefield had been selected by her opponents. If she were to allow her opponents to have things their way, she would be playing right into their hands. In order to obstruct these irregulars, she would have no choice but to become the irregular to her opponents. For the time being, this platform, a discus of ice that had been constructed in collaboration by Rem and Amelia, employed to split up Ye and Al. With its transparency harmed in proportion to the wind hitting it, Al's figure on the other side of the cloudy white disc grew foggy. Deeming this platform unideal, Ye dealt with Rem's volley of punches, slipping under Amelia's attack from behind, and used one of the ice sculptures trying to tackle her as a stool to leap into the air. Then, sending all the steel threads of her on her hands and feet in every direction of the discus, she exerted all of her might and began to spin her body around. As a result, I'm changing the situation. Is this also within your calculations? Guided by Ye's might, the arena known as the ice discus was altered. As that disc began to spin like a top, a tremendous centrifugal force was applied to everyone on the ice. With that, the battle transitioned to its next stage. Does that say that doesn't look like irregular? That does not look like a regular. I mean, well, I guess we'll say it the same way. A regular. That had been the meaning of some. Oh wait, I see Amelia in there. Okay, I get it. I get it. I get it. It's her trying to say irregular, but not understanding it. Irregular. That the meaning of something unexpected and understanding them, or that piling them up, with their current greatest weapon. Amelia hyped herself up. Whenever she got abruptly startled, Amelia would be unable to immediately think of the next action to take. Same thing could be said about Al. Al would have probably thought about a lot of things in order to plan what he was doing now, but he could not read all the way into the minds of Amelia and the others. That was the purpose of the irregulars. Leah, whenever you're in a pinch, you immediately try to use whatever strength you can to force your way through to some sort of solution, right? That fucking cap that I hate. Though, when that doesn't work, you end up worrying over what you should have done to begin with. But it wouldn't be like you to come to a halt there, Leah. nor do I think it would suit you. My adorable daughter has the power to smash through any problem with a bam, so don't just give up after the first go. How about you pile up a bunch of tries and do your best with that? Don't worry, Leah. When the time comes, your body will naturally teach you whatever you might need in that moment. After all, you're the daughter I'm so proud of, so you'll inherit the most powerful genetics. Indeed, words that Puck had once spoken to Amelia were now affectionately uh, reci- recite. Hold on. I'm saying like recite, and it's like, no, that's trying to say resuscitated, but resuscitated in her head. Or resuscitated, I guess, more so. Put the big ol' clear on him. Uh, these days, it was always super. I mean, I guess technically, I guess technically, I was trying to think of like, well, no, also it could be a whole bunch of other things in that regard, in a sense. Uh, there's other means to resuscitate. These days, it was always Subaru's words that she found to be reliable. But now that she knew Subaru was in danger, the first one to encourage Amelia was the teachings of Puck, as always. Her joint offensive with Rem against Al was now in the midst of the hard-fought struggle due to the intervention of Ye, that had already passed 2 more engravings in the cliff, meaning they had only had around 30 seconds left before they reached the bottom. She felt extremely fretful. However, she could not afford to let it overwhelm her. This was not something she was particularly skilled at, but she needed to foist these feelings into Al and Ye. In order to stop Al, no, in order to properly talk about or talk things out with Al, this time for sure. After all, Priscilla would have never desired this sort of thing. The fact that voicing such a thing would be cruel to Al, Amelia knew. Even now, thinking of Priscilla, it made Amelia's heart ache to voice her name. She would feel a sensation of moisture in her eyes, or in the corners of her eyes. She wanted to allow Al to vent those feelings. In the past, Amelia had once been rescued by Al. Even without that, Amelia wished to become a source of strength for Al. Not just because they shared the pain, or the same pain, it was not that, but more of an instinctual feeling. Amelia wished to save him. That was why, Subaru. The heat-filed wind ferociously stirred the maelstrom, and the disk of ice revolved with Ye at its center. Atop the disk of ice that had begun to revolve as vigorously as a spinning plate, the ice soldiers modeled after Subaru were unable to hold their ground after bearing the additional centrifugal force for a bit, and were subsequently blown away. They would be unable to do a thing after being thrown off the face of the disk, and at worst would meet a fate of crashing and shattering against the cliff face of the canyon. But before that could happen, Mila would not forget how one of them caught her hand just as she was about to stumble from spinning, preventing her fall and saving her. Rem is sliding across the revolving ice discs with skates of ice. Mila tried to locate Rem in her vision, as she ought to have been cornered in a similar situation. No, what if she were thrown off like the ice soldiers? Then, before the worried Amelia erupted a thundering boom and an even more enormous inferno. The collision had occurred at the center of the disk, where Rem and Ye violently crashed into each other and flared into a fiery blaze. Once again wielding the iron ball that she had cast into the sky earlier, Rem swung it down, and Ye skillfully warded off the downward strike by utilizing the tensile strength of the threads bundled together. As a result, Rem's large, sweeping movement was halted, and there did Ye thrust her toes squarely at her. Ka! Letting out a cry of pain, Rem was repelled back and stumbled down onto the ice disk, slipping towards the outer circumference. With the rotation of the disk and Ye's leg strength, there were no means to stop Rem's sliding body. Unwilling to allow that to happen, Amelia tried to devise a way to reach her, but, looking away is forbidden, as soon as she kicked off the ice, Ye's counterattack closed in as if thrusting towards her. An attack with the stone dowel that had been snatched up by a flaming steel thread, and the second stage follow-up of the thread slicing not far behind it, at the 2-stage assault that spanned a large range and necessitated evasion, Mila began to ruminate. She tried to, but recalling the words of the reliable Subaru and Puck, she abandoned that endeavor. Relying on her senses more than her thinking, Mila soared towards Rem, who had been flicked away. Quite literally, she caught wind in her wings and flown towards Rem. Wha? Staring in amazement, Ye was taken aback by the shocking display. It was the first time she had left herself completely open, but unfortunately, Mila did not have the leeway to focus her attention there right now. Only, flying directly towards Rem, she scooped her up right as she was about to fall off the edge of the disc, and soared up. Amelia did, with wings forged of ice upon her back. Interesting that she can do that. Thank you, Amelia-sama. These wings are... Subaru drew a picture of them before. Beings that grow wings on their backs. They're called angels. Subaru would talk about them every once in a while. But I tried my best, and I did it. That's... Again, definitely something interesting of just like, yeah, I tried my best, and I just made myself these wings, and it worked. Answering Rem's question after carrying her up, Mila softened her cheeks. But then again, these fake wings were that were only resembled them in shape. They could not be flapped like real birds' wings. Makes sense. And could at best glide on the wind. Moreover, it was something that could only be realized in this particular situation. An instance of success for an extremely rare magic. Subaru would probably be delighted if she were to show it to him, but for that they would also need to fall together from 5,000 meters up in the sky. For that reason as well, Mila-sama, let's retaliate. Yeah. Mila spread her glacial wings as Rem gave a valiant utterance with her arms, and nodded in agreement. Retaliate. The first thing that flashed through her mind upon hearing that word, intuitively believing it to be the same that Rem was thinking of, Mila lowered her altitude directly above the ice. Detaching her wings there, Amelia and Rem entered freefall and began to spin themselves, striking their heels down in unison. The horizontally rotating disc of ice was forced into a vertical gyration with all of their might. As payback for the ice disc having been made to spin horizontally, they made the disc spin vertically. Funny. It was very simple, but it was an incredible payback that neither of them would have been able to accomplish on their own, and so having remained on the top of the disc, Ye ought to have been stupefied. As the platform turned over from up to down, and then back to how it was before, then immediately upside down again to normal, to upside down to normal, to over and over and over, she jostled about. To make matters worse, there's also still a horizontal spin. As a result, the ice disc spinning on both axes became a random battlefield that did not trace any expected trajectory. It was just like the wobbly and shaky attraction of the training ground that Subaru and Garfield had made behind the Roswell mansion. Oh, attraction. I see. I was like, what the fuck? Because it's the Amelia like way of the words, and it threw me off a little bit. And precisely due to thinking of that, Amelia speedily dashed across the ice disc attraction. Ya, ta, to, soya. While altering the direction of the vehement force, but within a single second, Amelia relied only on the sensations from the bottoms of her feet to receive that momentum and use it to propel herself forwards. She was somewhat relieved that she had been able to run on it. On the other hand, she was worried whether Rem was all right or not. But there was no need to worry. As Rem responded so, she thrust her iron ball into the ice disc, and with that as the fulcrum, she pulled herself forward with her chain in one go, aiming for the center. Though falling a bit short of Amelia's momentum, it offered a far more reliable sense of stability. Contrary to that, Amelia had to ensure her own footing did not slip. That girl, either atop the ice disc that had been disrupted both vertically or horizontally, or possibly below, desperately clinging on in order to not be shaken off, Amelia searched for the figure of Ye in order to pursue her, and then blinked her amethyst eyes. There she was, unmoved. Ye was right in the middle, the spot on the disc with the weakest centrifugal force. Even so, that would not change the fact that she had been jostled about. As she seemed like she was about to stretch out her legs, Amelia realized. Well, I need to take a drink, unless we are right at the end. Maybe not. Hold on, let me read this. Having folded her knees and leaned into the ice disc, Ye had not been affected by the gyration of the platform. The reason was clear. She had excavated the center of the ice disk with her seal threads, creating a unique safety zone immune to the effects of the rotation as she lay ready in wait for Amelia and Rem. That instant, steel threads alight with flame bundled together. And a blazing flash of weighty silver engulfed her vision. That is some sick art of it. I like that. I like that. Ooh, that's good. Give me 1 second to take a drink. Damn, how much do we have left? We went through that section for a while. How much do we have left of that? I'm curious about this as well now. I know I checked this thing like a decent bit, but it's like, surely it's not that much if we're already going through this much of it. Like, surely it's like, yeah, okay, it's practically nothing. Okay, we could probably finish this in one go. Most likely. Most likely. We'll see. A blazing silver, yeah, because that was like 20 minutes or something, so yeah. A blazing silver flash of crimson. If one were to have a bird's eyes view of that, if they possessed knowledge of that technique, they would have likely realized what Ye Tenzin had unleashed was a steel thread aido, the art of swiftly drawing a katana and unleashing a lethal strike before immediately returning it to its sheath. I know what that is. Genuinely, I do know what that is. Nobody would have imagined that something so thin, lacking any consistent form, could take the shape of aido. Not to mention, even amidst the long and storied history of the shinobi, steel thread technique was a legendary art that none save the most gifted of geniuses could even grasp the fundamentals of, let alone master. The fact that the Crimson Sakura, the most gifted shinobi throughout all of history, had polished that deadly technique to even greater heights was something that not a single person, not even Aldebaran, had been aware of. Therefore, the fact that Rem had managed to defend against the steel Therefore, the fact that Rem had managed to defend against the silver flash of flames could not be described as anything short of a miracle. Priscilla-san, spun by her lips, was the name of the woman bearing one of the reasons she had guided Rem to this point, and gone her standing back on her feet. And now, she was the benefactor who had left behind signs so that Rem could continue clinging on to life. She had felt it, something she had not been allowed to detect a single time up to this point. Ye's definite murderous intent. The emotions of humans dwelled within mana. Those who excelled at perceiving such mana could easily guess the emotions of others. The reason why spirits could vaguely sense the thoughts of other people was thought to be correlated to this sensation. Let's go down a bit. Thus, absorbing the surrounding mana with her horn via her Oni transformation, Rem felt sensations that she normally could not grasp with an acuity several times greater than usual. Or acuity, sorry. I'm fucking... I'm slowing down here like usual. I slow down towards the end a whole lot. But to be fair, we've been reading a lot. It is like nearly 8,000 word chapter. This is a lot. This is a lot. Let me do that one more time, honestly. Thus, absorbing the surrounding mana with her horn via her Oni transformation, Rem felt sensations that she normally could not grasp with an acuity several times greater than usual. Until now, she had not felt it. No, it was a sensation she would have not noticed even if she had felt it. There were various factors that played into into her gaining the ability to sense this. The fact that she had restored herself, as well as the sense of duty she carried to take back Subaru, but the number one reason lay elsewhere. The number one factor was the influence of the days she had spent together with Priscilla, the fortified city this is what I'm saying, of Gural. Amidst the time was by no means long, Priscilla would often present Rem with words that seemed like riddles, granting her an impetus to deeply come face to face with her own self. At the time, due to frustrations with her inadequate healing magic and uselessness, She had merely attempted to superficially follow Priscilla's words, but now I feel like I finally understand it just a bit. Even now, she would not say that she knew all the answers to the words from back then. She would think of it as an assignment that would last for her whole lifetime, and that she would never be able to check her answers anymore either. That was sorrowful, lonely, pained her heart. Right now, I wish I could speak with you, Priscilla-san. This is like, honestly, whew, this is kind of like hitting me hard to read. Just because she's having this genuine, sincere moment thinking about Priscilla while, and it fits because of the arc. Muttering, she closed her eyes. Then, when she reopened them, Rem's gifts as an Oni awakened in those eyes. What she keenly perceived mixed with the mana with faint timidity, murderous intent, will to attack, or enmity, sorry. To the place where that seemed to be tinged with color, Rem sent forth her iron ball with pinpoint precision. The silver flash of flames that had drawn near in an attempt to bisect both herself and Amelia, slamming her Morningstar into a position that could clear it away in a single swing. That certain death unleashed was transformed into non-lethality. The shrill clangor of steel on steel rang out, and as a vehement recoil was delivered to her grip, Rem's counterattack met Ye's brandish head-on. Slightly aghast at that reality, Ye nevertheless stooped down and prepared for her next move. Countless rampaging silver flashes, perceiving the murderous intent surging through the air before they could be unleashed, Rem preempted them, firing her iron ball, chains, and magic forth as if to trace the lines. In a series of moments that almost seemed to overlap into a single instant, Ye's onslaught was forwarded by Rem. A breath spilled. Sorry, I was almost going to say slipped. Spilled from her heart. This is it. This is the true scenery that the Oni clan had gandered. A mere silver of the domain Ram had reached by birth. Now, at this moment, over a decade later, the tips of Rem's fingers had finally caught on. Interesting. Rem, swinging up her iron ball, Rem continued to fend off the tempest of blazing threads of steel. Amelia called out to her. The sense of urgency loaded into that voice was not of gratitude for having been protected, but rather a cry to inform her of a change in the situation, and one for the worse at that. She caught Amelia in the corner of her eye, stretching out her long legs as she clung to the surface of the ice discus, darting her eyes around the revolving view. Al's gone. I can't find him anywhere. At her wit's end, Amelia's voice caused Rem to finally realize that Al had disappeared from her own sights as well. Below the ice discus, Al was supposed to be in position where he could not do anything but spectate the battle above, but he was nowhere to be found in the sky, made perceivable from the disc's rotation having eliminated all obstructions to vision. I kind of figured he wasn't going to be here, especially with the geyser. I mean, I know that was Volcanica Al, but still. I just slammed my hand into my fucking desk just to make things worse for me. Why don't we? Just in regards to my fingers. As soon as Rem thought about where he could be, realization struck her like lightning. She strained her eyes to the distant sky. As they plummeted down the Agzad Canyon, beyond that long, massive fissure in the ground, far in the distance from Rem and the others, a silhouette could be seen receding into the distance. Similar to what Amelia had done earlier, with wings on his back, catching the wind with wings forged of stone. Yep, he's copying the same shit. Al was gliding away at ferocious speeds. That instant, what flashed through Rem's mind was her joint attack with Amelia onto the ice disc that had made the platform spin vertically and had advanced the battle against Ye into the next dimension, but that had been used against them. Yeah, because that would send him flying. When Amelia and I linked up in order to kick the platform, at that time, Al had clung to the bottom of the side of the ice disc, and using the momentum of the rotation from Amelia and Rem's kick, he had gained a propulsion to launch him straight up into the distant sky. Yep. If Al were to escape like this, the entire operation would come crumbling down. By piling on the irregulars, they had been whittling away at Al's reserves, but if things proceeded this way, they would be unable to arrive at the trump card they needed to play. That must not happen. Making a split-second decision, Rem and Amelia exchanged gazes. Rem, and the will of Amelia, which she ought to have not been able to hear, was delivered to Rem through mana. The things that the Oni horn perceived were not limited to just omens of hostility. By also taking in unshakable trust and expectation, Rem was bestowed with unlimited power. It was to that extent that, rather than simply taking in the mana, she might end up believing that bearing those emotions was actually the source of the power. Indeed, she certainly had granted strength, and so, I'm headed off. Take care. Raising herself up and then swinging down on the ice disc with all her might, the vertical rotation of the discus began to rapidly accelerate. Receiving that momentum, Amelia was launched straight into the sky. Clad in the glimmer of ice, Amelia once again caught the wind with wings of ice stretching out on her back, soaring above the Agzad Canyon towards the distant sky in pursuit of Al. She soared and soared away. Then, entrusting Amelia with the pursuit of Al, I won't let you go after them. That's my line. Passing by yet another marking in the cliff face of the Agzad Canyon, there remained 20 seconds until they reached the floor. The two maids left standing on the plummeting ice platform. Rem and Ye faced off. Final clash between Oni and Shinobi, between the hero's confidant and the Crimson Sakura commenced. Ooh. I was gonna say, let me take a drink, actually. Let me take a drink, because that was a lot of reading. That was a good chapter. That was a pretty damn good chapter. Let me go also like all that art. Right, while we're at it. I'm curious about the next chapter as well. I was gonna say, did they get rid of the comments? I guess it's just lower now. Let's go back up. Go like all that art. Hopefully there's no spoilers in there. But we will see. And let me just do this, even though, ooh, name chapter for her. I mean, I guess it makes sense. It's probably gonna be the finale for Yay. Oh boy. Ooh. Yeah, that was. I was going to say. I think I listen. I'm saying this as the guy who really likes Rem and everything, right? And Nazareth is my favorite character. I might enjoy her that much, but I don't think she should have been the one to go. So I am glad to see that it's Amelia who's going to go stop Al, and Rem's going to stay here and fight. Yay! Especially because that's fitting. They're both maids, right? They're both maids, and they're going to fight each other. That feels fitting. So I'm glad it's her going, and then Amelia's going. And then Rem is going to stay here and fight Ye. I think that's perfect. I think that's genuinely perfect. Ooh, excuse me. That was a good chapter. Good developments. Good seeing how things are going. And then, yeah, Al's headed towards the geyser. And I guess we'll see what happens from there. Let me go again. Let me like all this art. Let me give a big old like to all that art. Okay. This is good. I'm back into this excitement. So I do want to see. So I remember seeing that there are some long ass chapters. Is this one of them? Is this one of the long ass chapters? Let's see. Oh, there's a lot of scrolling. That's 11,000 words. Holy shit, that's 11,000 words for a named chapter. Yeah, I was right to split this up. We are not doing this right now. These would take like I think this would guaranteed take like 2 or 3 hours. There's a reason I have to split these streams up super hard. Oof. Okay. Yeah, for the sake of that, we'll probably be back next week. I don't know how late, right? Ideally, I'd like to do it Tuesday, but this is a lot. And we have the episode coming out on Wednesday. So, what I'm thinking is if I don't decide Tuesday, this is going to sound rough, but if I don't decide Tuesday, I think we try for Friday, right? Again, these chapters are just long, and then we also have the reactions in between, so that's kind of the thing. But if we're lucky, right, if it's not too long afterwards for the chapter after that, I think I might do. What would it be? I think I might do I might do another one either like Sunday or Monday. Right? So we don't fully lose out. It's just like no, there's going to be another one shortly after that. I'm just saying it might be a bit, but that's if we don't do it Tuesday or something like that, right? I don't think we're going to do one Monday. I'm probably just going to save it for something like Tuesday and we'll go from there. But this was great. I'm glad to be back. I'm excited to be back. This was genuinely a lot of fun once again. So yeah, I'm gonna end off there. It's already like fucking 8 o'clock. I mean, I expected as much. Honestly, I expected a little bit worse. But that was pretty good. That was pretty fucking good. We we started at like 6:15, and by the point we actually started reading, it was like I almost want to say like 6:30 or something like that. So honestly, an hour and a half. An hour and a half for how long that chapter was. We're getting better. I'm learning. I'm growing. But yeah, no, it's like that was pretty good. That was a pretty good length for all that. I mean, I could check actual stream time. Yeah, actual stream time was only 2 hours. Despite that chapter bordering on what should have been like 2 hours and 40 minutes, it's not as long anymore. I guess I'm getting more used to just reading through it pretty damn efficiently that it's not as long anymore. So yeah, honestly, not bad. Maybe this chapter won't be that long then. Maybe this chapter will be like 2 hours long, but that's not really that bad by comparison because it's like fucking it's 11,000 words. So like yeah, that's pretty good for 2 hours, right? Who knows? Maybe it will be, right? Still, that said, I'm gonna wrap up here. I'm just gonna head out. Uh, I guess at this point, finish eating my sandwich, and yeah, that'll be all. So we will be back also for more reactions. I can't wait to watch more Arc 6. I fucking love that new episode. I forgot to talk about some of this stuff and just how much I like loved some of these new episodes, but it's like, man, that new Arc 6 episode is just oh, it's so fucking good. Is my yeah, my camera's like weirdly off center. I'm noticing that. My camera is like just weirdly off center by the slightest bit, and I don't know why. Is it still I don't know. I don't know what's going on there. And then that made it what I don't know. Weird. Let me try. And then that just fucked it up on top. I don't know what's going on. Yeah, that made it worse. This was like fine for a while, I'm pretty sure. I mean, okay, there we go. That fixed it. So, um, yeah, I didn't even get to talk about like the episode stuff that I wanted to, but I mean, generally just speaking, Arc Six's anime has been awesome, and I've been enjoying it a lot. And that previous episode was fantastic. If you haven't seen the reaction, I recommend going to see it because that was, oof, I had a blast with that. But yeah, we will be back. I'm excited for more. I'm excited to see the Yay named chapter, and I guess that's gonna be it for her, presumably after this, right? We'll see when we get to that. But for now, we're gonna head out. That's gonna be all. So, oh, I just went to my camera and now it's gonna lag the shit out of it for a second. So yeah, take care. Have yourselves a great night, great day, whatever it may be, right? And I will see you all at the next reading session. I'm excited to be back. I said that before, but I am excited to be back and be doing this again. Fun. Still, we'll be back for more. We'll be back with this named chapter. So until then,